If someone were to ask me, what is it like to apply for jobs in 2024? I would say that it is like fishing in a big lake where there are only 10 fish and there are thousands and thousands of fishermen, something like that. And I would say that in my time in the industry, this is definitely the most difficult job market that I've seen. In previous years, before the end of 2022 and sometime around 2021, it was definitely a different market where if you even had just a little bit of experience, you'd consistently have, and I'm talking about you proverbially, you'd consistently have recruiters hitting you up, or you would also be in situations where you can send out X amount of applications, typically through a feature like Easy Apply, and you could send out like 15 applications in a matter of 30 minutes. So you do that every day, right? 5 days, 7 days a week, maybe spend 30 minutes a day sending out applications. And if you did that for long enough, typically, I don't know, in my time, it's been like around like 3 months, you would gradually get more interviews, and the more interviews that you would get, eventually you'd be able to land one of those opportunities. And that's what it was like back then, like, yeah, maybe you could lose a job, but the expectation of you picking up another one was, and picking up another one relatively fast, I think was definitely there, because it was a developer's market. The job market was more on the side of the developers, where as to now, I think that things have flipped and the market is much more on the side of employers. And what sticks out to me is that if companies are not hiring on more devs, I think a lot of that has to do with there simply just not being enough work to go around. Now, I think that there has been some degree of, hey, we're implementing AI, therefore we think that it's going to be useful for us to get rid of X amount of jobs and whatnot. But I think more than not, the companies that were employing these developers aren't doing as well, or they're thinking of actual cost efficiency when it comes to their employees. Really thinking about, okay, like the forecast economically is that things are going to be pretty difficult. Therefore, how much can we afford to cost while remaining competitive and while doing well? If you guys remember, I think it was like a couple of videos back, I talked about how, what was the company's name? Cisco had reported effectively that they were doing well, or I mean, doing decent enough. Instead of doing this, they were doing this, right? Technically. And they still decided to cut jobs, right? So it's not always that that a company's in a desperate situation when it comes down to cutting jobs. Sometimes they do it just because they want to fly in quote unquote more of an efficient way. What I'm saying is that right now we're just in an environment where it's not favorable to developers or employers, or employees, and that makes the market feel kind of stagnant. There's just not enough demand for the work that many employees are able to provide and do, right? And I think that it can feel a bit discouraging. It definitely can, because you say, hey, look, I spent all this time learning the skill and there's just not that much demand for it right now. And of course, things can always swing back. And I actually had made a video not too long ago about how when the interest rates lower, that'll perhaps be the first sign of the industry coming back. I'm not as strong on that point anymore. I think interest rates lowering, I think it's going to be sometime in September, it's probably going to be more dangerous than not, because the fragility of the economy with how much we printed around the 2020 mark during the crisis and whatnot. I don't think can really just be alleviated by us lowering rates at this point, especially when they were quote unquote, the Fed was quote unquote combating inflation or whatever with the high interest rates and all this stuff. And it just kind of, I think the economy is in a very tricky situation, and I wouldn't be surprised if we go through another rough patch before things get better. What I'm trying to get at here is that it's tough, right? But where does that leave us as developers? And I think that leaves us in a space where we are being forced to be more creative with how we approach both the job market, but also with how we make money in general, right? There's no easy way to slice it, but the only way forward is to be creative. So it's whatever things that we have going on with, like, for example, your portfolio or your resume, your LinkedIn, your network, making sure that those really are as maxed out as possible, and you can always improve them to stand out more so that you will better your chances. Also making sure that the resumes that we submit, for example, are of high quality. And I've recently learned that it's not so much so that they are readable for humans, but that they are better that they're readable for, instead that they are readable for ATS systems, which are applicant tracking systems that will just scan through your resume and effectively match whatever's on your resume, or see how closely you match from what's on your resume to the job description. Adapting to stuff like that, and I think that makes a huge difference, as well as making sure that on platforms like LinkedIn, you're showing a lot of activity. It's so that activity gets picked up by the algorithm, and based on that algorithm, you will get better job opportunities shown to you, as well as linked with different recruiters that are looking for somebody who is displaying your specific behavior or your specific background on the platform. So there's all these like different nuances that you can implement to get more attention, as well as taking a look at how you can distribute or implement your skill set in a way that pays you outside of just a conventional employer. I do stuff here with the YouTube channel, but you could be doing stuff in freelancing. You can be setting up your own, making a course, selling it on Coursera. There's like a bunch of different things that you could do that apply to your skill set, that don't necessarily just have to do with, hey, I'm just going to apply from two jobs from 9 to 5, and then after that, like, take the day off. Like, there's so many different ways that this skill set can be played, and it's just that the typical source, probably the most conventional bread and butter source of income for the skill set, is that fountain of money flow has been pretty maybe damaged is the word, but it's not as flowing as it used to be. Therefore, I think it's incumbent, or it's important for us as developers to look at different ways that we can monetize our skill set. But yeah, I mean, it's a difficult market. It's the most difficult that I've seen, but that doesn't mean that it's not possible, as you guys saw in my last video. It just means that the game is just changed, and instead of moaning or griping about it, really, I think the best way that we can serve ourselves is by adapting to that change and being better and stronger for it. I think a lot of people are coming to realize that depending on a 9 to 5 is just unreliable. I mean, it's here one day, it's gone the next, and it's just so much better to always have a backup plan, multiple sources of income, and just never bet that what you have today is promised tomorrow, something like that. So if you like this content, make sure to like, subscribe. If you agree, if you disagree, make sure to leave a comment in the comment section below. I love reading your guys' comments, as well as if you would like to join a community of like-minded individuals and support the growth of this channel, make sure to become a patron in the description box below. I'm going to leave the link there so that you can become a patron, and in exchange, I will send you a link to the community's private Discord to the email that you sign up with. And yeah, hopefully we can exchange some information and get you some insights and details on how you can be successful in your next job opportunity. Other than that, guys, I will see you on the next one. Thank you and peace.